Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. I still haven't quite got my hands on the Outlaws of Thunder Junction cards yet, so I thought I would record with some interesting JUND lists that I saw. And I know how some of you do enjoy JUND, and it's nice to see it in Legacy every now and then. It doesn't quite get the love it should do, in my opinion, because there's a lot of good cards in these colour combinations. And I think the difficulty is trying to find quite the right configuration to put those good cards in. So this build looks quite interesting to me, and maybe it's found that sweet spot, so let's get into it. So, we are a Green Sun Zenith deck at our core, so we can go and get our Dryad Arbor. We've got some mana dorks, so we've effectively got 8 mana dorks between Hierarchs and Green Suns. So we've got our mana dorks. We've got a few silver bullets like Collector Ouphe, Outland Liberator, and Scavenging Ooze. We've got ourselves an Endurance here for wiping graveyards, a great thing to get off Green Sun Zenith. We have a Grist, which is, just a standard thing that you want to be getting off Green Sun Zenith these days. It just runs away with games, and I'm amazed that people only play one of them sometimes. It just feels really powerful. And then we have Klothys, which is an interesting one. So this is a 3-mana 4/5 indestructible, but it's only a creature if your devotion to red or green is 7 or more. So quite often this won't be a creature, but it still does this ability of, at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, exile a target card from a graveyard. If it was a land card, add red or green. Otherwise, you gain 2 life and it deals 2 damage to each opponent. So this is going to hate on your opponent's graveyard slowly in sort of fairer matchups, whilst also accruing you some advantage of mana or draining life and keeping you in the game. So this is an interesting card that used to be really, really strong once upon a time, and I haven't seen it for a while, and it's good to see it back here. So maybe this is the secret sauce that we need. We also have a Mawloc, which we can go and fetch with our Green Sun Zenith, just to dome something down and kill it. So that's sort of all our Green Sun Zenith stuff. We've also got other stuff going on. So I mentioned we're playing the good cards in the colour combination, and that includes 3 Foe the Mirror Breaker, which gets to copy our come into play effects like Endurance or Mawloc. And we also have Bowmasters, which is something that can be copied by the Fable nicely, and it's just a great card. Only running 3 is kind of interesting, but maybe that'll be right. This isn't my list, so I am not the one who's worked on the numbers and managed to put the 5 up with it, so let's see if they know something that I don't. We've got 4 Lightning Bolts for removal. We've got 3 Furies, and we've got 3 Punishing Fires with 3 Go with the Burnwillows. So we're quite removal heavy here, which seems to be where I would want to be with JUND, right? You want to be a little bit bigger than like the tempo-y decks and just sort of crush them with a bit of inevitability, but we're going to be cold to combo decks. That's kind of how it's going to roll, I would imagine. On top of this, we've got a little package of Thoughtseizes. Again, can help with the combo matchup a little bit, but 4 Thoughtseize won't be enough to beat combo decks most of the time. So this is just going to sort of assist our plan rather than be the way out of it. Then we also have a couple of Minsc and Boo, which are one of the best threats that you have in this color combination, because you just play this down and it will win the game in 2 to 3 turns a lot of the time. It's very powerful, and it gives us a draw possibility as well, so we can throw our hamster and then gas back up in the sort of mid to late game. Hidden amongst our lands, we've also got a Commercial District and a Raucous Theater, so a couple of the Surveil lands. We've got 4 Wastelands in our 23 land mana base, but we do have like 8 mana dorks effectively, so we can hopefully deploy all of our spells without having to worry about it too much. Basic land wise, we've got ourselves 1 forest, and that's it. So that's the forest that can allow us to play things like Ignoble Hierarch and Green Sun Zenith, so that can do quite a lot of work. Obviously, if we're under a Blood Moon, then we can cast all our red spells. It's just a black that's going to be shut off under a Blood Moon. But we have some things on our sideboard to deal with that sort of effect. We've got a bunch of dual lands that you'd expect. Sideboard-wise, we've got some Graveyard Hate in Surgical. We've got a little bit of protection against scary type stuff in the Veil of Summer. We've got Pick Your Poison, which can take out something like a Blood Moon or a Murktide Region or an Ezra Saga, that sort of jam. Got a bunch of Red Blast because, we're going to be having an uphill struggle against some of these sort of slower blue control decks, especially like blue-white based control decks. So having some more tools for that is going to be helpful. Also, we're not great at killing Murktide Regent, so Pyroblast will certainly help that. We got another Collector Ouphe for when it's good and we want more of them. I like this sort of thing. Really get your big Hammerlock pieces in. Because we are a little bit cold to some combo decks, a lot of them run through artifacts. So if we have an additional Collector Ouphe, then we have even more hits to get them and try and win the game by stopping our opponent's sort of main engine rolling. We've also got some Cindervines. This is good against stormy type stuff, but can also blow up various things. If you've not seen this one before, it pings your opponents for 1 whenever they cast a non-creature spell, and then you can sacrifice it to disenchant, and it deals 2 damage. So, pretty reasonable. couple of Force of Vigors to also help with some of those problem permanents, and another bit of Graveyard Hate in 3 more Endurances. And yeah, that's the JUND list. It's looking more like a sort of classic JUND where we're grinding a bit, we're playing some guys out, a little bit of removal here and there, just playing the good stuff. So without further ado, remember to like and subscribe, and let's get JUNDing. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? Alright, welcome to round 1. This is our opening hand. So you've got like half a ponder, is how I like to evaluate these cards. And then we can do some green suns anything. We've got removal, lots of removal. Actually, we've got some hand disruption. Technically, Grow the Burnwillows can be a win condition with Punishing Fires. We can chip for 1 every turn. We've also got the Zenith, so I think this is keepable. I like having interaction. Bander's Lounge. Okay, so this could be a sort of slow control-y deck. Do we want to ramp out right now using this? Or do you just want to get our... I think we just want to get our Raucous Theater out of the way while we don't have to react to anything immediately. This is a pretty strong card, so I'll leave that on top. We do have 3 mana sources in total right now. So we can Wasteland next turn, holding up Lightning Bolt, so we can deal with any problem permanents our opponent might try. Well, I say any. Things like a Narset we can ping down, or we can kill some creatures, but we've got some options for us. So we're going to play this one out, and we're going to Thoughtseize our opponent. Let's see what you're working with. Brainstorm, Ponder, Law Revealed. Okay, we're going to take the removal here. So this line of bolt is unlikely to be that useful. A Brainstorm. So our opponent's going to move a bunch of cards around, so I don't think we can reliably predict which of these are going to be left in their deck. I imagine they're putting at least one of these lands back in their deck. But they didn't crack their Flooded Strand. Okay, so they're getting a Triumph of St. Catherine. That's not a troubling permanent that we can answer with our Lightning Bolt. We can kill this with 2 spells on our turn, but it will just go back into our opponent's deck, which is not great. We want to exile this, ideally, but we don't have a lot of exile removal. So it could be a tricky one. But because we know they put the Triumph on top, we know that only one of these cards is also buried. There's the Island and the Ponder. There it is. So this feels like it's going to be one of the trickier matchups for us, where we're going slightly bigger than the temper decks, the control decks are going slightly bigger than us, and because we're not low to the ground enough, we can't go underneath the control decks. So you either want to go way below a deck or go a little bit above it, generally speaking. So Grist is an answer. So we have some possibility to interact with this Triumph of St. Catherine soon. But let's just try and get some powerful stuff going of our own. Problem with answering the Triumph is it will come back within a few turns. Up the Beanstalk. Not a surprise. Would like to have an Orcish Bowmasters. That would certainly give us some agency here. Alright, we're seeing a cracked fetch land immediately. I have a feeling we're about to lose our Goblin Shaman token. Plow. A Binding. Sure. So a cantripping removal spell for 1 mana. Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. Like, we still got this Triumph of St. Catherine to deal with. Okay, they're getting rid of the Fable rather than the guy. That's interesting. So we could go and get something like an Outland Liberator here if we wanted to, and answer their Beanstalk or the Binding. That seems quite interesting to me. Okay, so we'll go and get this Outland Liberator. We could use this Mawloc and Lightning Bolt their creature and try and strip him that way. But I think they'll just take the advantage there by just countering the Bolt or whatever, so we've just wasted our Mawloc. So we can go and get another creature back off of their Leyline Binding. We can take out the Beanstalk. If our opponent doesn't play any spells on their turn, then... Okay, they are playing a spell. Then we could flip our Outland Liberator and just start gobbling up these Leyline Bindings. But I think we can afford to take 5 again from this Triumph. Like, our opponent is not really about reducing our life total to 0. They're about controlling the game and then winning because they have control. This Triumph obviously is quite a big threat that we're going to have to work through at some point. But we kind of set ourselves up for success here, hopefully. This looks like a prismatic ending or something. What is this? Okay, I need to read this one. 3 mana, 3 loyalty, draw a card, then put a card from your hand on top of your library. So like a weird looting. It's a bit like a brainstorm. Exile another target permanent you own, then return to the battlefield under your control. Choose left or right. Each player gains control of all non-land permanents other than Amarantha the Fate Shifter, controlled by the next player in the chosen direction. Okay. So that's weird. Okay, so I assume they're just going to draw here. Exile. Okay, so they're going to flicker this. That's interesting. So we could Punishing Fire this. Cost of a treasure token. We could Lightning Bolt it. Lightning Bolting it, because that way we can still hold up the Outland Liberator as well. Let's take out this weird thing. I think I want to take this Beanstalk out more than the Binding. Is that weird? This is a tough call. We don't really want to... Actually, no, we want to loot away this Punishing Fires, don't we? Right, let's just get this Binding out of here. Get our Fable back, and then on our turn we'll immediately get the looting as well. So we don't want this Punishing Fire. Do I really want this Endurance? Like, it's reasonable, but I think we can do better. We're looking for Bowmasters here. Minsc and Boo, that's a very real Magic the Gathering card, isn't it? So, black. I'm just trying to work out if are we wastelanding one of our opponent's permanents here? I think so. Green, colourless. Right, so let's get this Grist. This is definitely worth counterspelling if our opponent can. Yep, they can indeed. And they're going to get the cantrip off of that. Are we trying to block here? I guess so. So this is their red and black. So this is reducing their leyline bindings a lot. So if we take this out, we can take out their only green source, or we can stop their bindings from being good. But this makes the bindings cost 1 more. So it'll be 2 mana bindings. This will make them be 3 mana bindings. If we take this out, we have the option of a second Wasteland taking out their other white source as well. Yeah, I think I'm going to take out the green source. They're basically... I guess... It's hard to work out exactly what their colours are, because they got a whole bunch of them. I don't think we're just sending these guys in. We're probably just going to try and do some Fury and start copying it with Fable down the line. I think we have to start chump blocking now, though. We don't get to buy back because we don't have the mana spare. Right, so this is going to flip. We draw a land, which allows us to play Minsc and Boo. That's what we're interested in doing here. Which it probably is. Does it matter what we get here? We need another black source, I think. Are we getting Bayou or Badlands? We're not that heavy in black costs, are we? But we still want to get the black, I think. So, let's try a Minsc and Boo. This is the sort of thing that might be able to run away with this game. Alright, we're in with it, aren't we? That's pretty exciting. Alright, let's make our Boo a little bit bigger. Orcish Bowmasters. Yeah, that's an annoying one. So we're going to lose our Boo there without getting the counters on it. I don't think we're using our Fury, because if we use it next turn, we can copy it, in theory. So I think we're just going to hold back and hope to draw a land so that we can copy our Minsc and copy our Fury after hard casting it. Swords to Plowshares. Alright, so that plan is gone. That's awkward for us. Alright. Alright, that's gone as well. So there's 7 damage to the face if they want it, or they can just eat our Minsc and Boo and deal us 2. Yeah, this feels like we're just losing this one, unfortunately. Do we have anything useful off of a Green Sun Zenith? I don't believe we do. We could Fury, but that's not going to get us anywhere. I think we have anything exciting we can find. We can get a Mawloc, and that will gobble this up. We could kill the Triumph of St. Catherine here, if it all goes to plan. And then we could draw a red source for the Fury. Okay, we found a line that kind of works. So green, 1, 2. No, we want to save our Grove, I think. Actually, it doesn't really matter because we're going to Lightning Bolt, aren't we? Alright, so we get the Mawloc. We'll fight with the Triumph. We'll blast the Triumph here. We're not going to be getting our Punishing Fires back. Alright. So if we can find a red source, we can probably stabilize here, because we can shred their board with our Fury. Now, our opponent hasn't been playing stuff, so they've got business in hand. It wasn't a counter spell, so it's almost certainly just more removal. Yep, you can bash us for 2. Land? Not a land, but this is a pretty interesting card. What can we find with it? A lot of our best options are actually gone. We can find a mana dork to make Fury more reliable, but I think our opponent probably has removal in hand. So we're going to get the thing that's harder to remove, I think. We're going to get Klothys here. And then next turn we can start buying back our Punishing Fires and dealing with our opponent's creatures. Because this will start accruing us some advantage. Now, they can Leyline Binding this. But they can't plow it because it's not creature right now. We do have quite a large mountain to overcome in terms of 41 life, though. This also can give us the mana for the Fury if we want it. If we just exile a land. Take the Savannah out. We'll have red mana. I think having this Wasteland in play is going to be useful. Can we shred your guys? We didn't actually have a good timing to do this because of when Klothys gives us mana. So we're going to see a plow or something. We can see another Bowmaster. Oh, I've just put these the wrong way around, haven't I? Yeah, that was a bit of a speed from me there. Sorry, I was talking through my play about some stuff, and it's supposed to be 1 on here and 3 on here. Pretty awkward. Yeah, so instead of clearing a body off the board, 2 bodies off the board, we haven't cleared any bodies off. Alright. But we've taken out their removal colour, so our Fury should be able to hold firm here. So we need to be gaining some life here. So Klothys, let's take out Plow. That's something that they could put back on top with the various things in their deck, perhaps. Do I just want to get this Punishing Fires back? I think I do. Right, I think we have to start attacking now. Right, we don't really have any actions here, unless our opponent gains life, but that seems very unlikely. Yep, you bash us for 1. Get rid of this. Source of Plowshares. Play this out. Say yes to this. Kill this guy. I'm going to get a Dryad Arbor with his Wooded Foothills, because you don't want to draw that, but it's a fine thing to have. We could play the Scavenging Ooze, but I don't want to play it naked. I want to be able to gain some life off of it. Strip out that graveyard when we can. Should we get Commercial District here? That's probably better. Let's do that. Oh, yes, please. I would love a Minsc and Boo. Alright, we just keep exiling their things, gaining some life. Look at me, I'm junding. Alright, red, green, 1, 2. We do need to get this game 1 because the clock is against us right now. But we are quite far ahead on this current board. Once our opponent gets white mana, that might change. Let's just get this back. Say no to this. Pump our Boo. Attacks. This gives us lethal damage. Alright, let's go for this. Alright. We managed to turn the corner and go there. That one Wasteland on their whites. So, ages ago, when I had the first Wasteland, I said, if we hit their one white source, we can take them off green, but then if we have a second Wasteland, we can take them off of white. And that's what we ended up doing, and it worked out really well for us. And Klothys was excellent there as well, just helped us sort of grow back into the game, gave us the mana for the Fury, did a lot, so yeah. Then we just need to do that again in a relatively short amount of time. So, Pyroblast and stuff are interesting. I like Cindervines here. Kind of like we can blow up some of the annoying things that our opponent has. Same with Pick Your Poison and Force of Vigors. I like Endurances just as another threat because we're going to need to beat down our opponent here. And potentially some amount of blasts. What am I not interested in? I don't really want these lightning bolts. I think that's where I'm at. Furies can hit planeswalkers. They've shown us they have planeswalkers, so that makes sense. Collector Ouphe not doing anything here. Outland Liberator is okay. This isn't really a Scavenging Ooze matchup, so that can go. You can probably Scavenging Ooze the Triumph of St. Catherine. I don't think it's a replacement. I think it has to go into the graveyard. But I don't think that's how we're fighting that one. But we could run something like this. That seems pretty reasonable. Just lots of threats. Just do we want these Pyroblasts at all? What are the Pyroblasts hitting? Like, we can take out their Force of Wills. And we can maybe take out that old Planeswalker. But I think I'd rather just have, you know, more threats and stuff and get the game won. So this is what I'm going for. I can keep this. Orcish Bowmasters should be one of the best cards in this matchup that we have access to. Wasteland being another one of the best cards. You're going to see just a basic islands. There's probably going to be a Ponder. There it is. It's also Fury versus the Red Blast. Fury gets to beat down for damage, which is really important. I don't think I'm going to fetch around Wasteland. We need a black source here, and we need a green source, so we're going to get a Bayou. And just drop our little friend here. This allows us to start playing some Bowmasters plus Wasteland next turn. So we might be able to force action on something and then get a Bowmaster to snowball out of control. I'm just going to see another cantrip. Okay, Island cycling off the Lorien Revealed. Probably playing this immediately. There's a Tundra. They're playing the Tundra. So that's their removal colour. Right, they're ploughing our Hierarch. We've seen Bowmasters from our opponent, so we don't actually want to play the Bowmasters out straight away. I think we'll take this opportunity to flash one in. They're probably just going to plough this in response. No. They shuffled with the Ponder as well. Right, they're cracking with their Delta. They got a Trop here, so they got their bank colours. They're playing a Beanstalk. This is going to give us another ping with our Bow Boys. These are going to be crashing in for big chunks of damage now. And we're going to Wasteland our opponent's removal colour, which is white. And we're going to continue to bash. And we've got another Bowmasters if our opponent puts some more drawing spells on the stack. But I want them to expend stuff on the Bowmaster. Oof, that is too tempting not to cast here. Alright. Bowmaster. We're going to hit our opponent for 6 damage here. Alright, our opponent's had enough. So, yeah. First impressions of this deck is pretty good. Kind of reminds me a little bit of when JUND was good in Legacy ages ago. But we managed to grind through a control deck pretty effectively there. I think if this was just a Bant deck, it might be more difficult because their mana would be more stable. But our well-fired-off Wastelands did a lot of work. Let's go to round 2. Okay, we can keep this. So we can either be doing a turn 2 Fable, or we can go a little bit slower and Thoughtseize. Maybe turn 2 is getting something else. Like... You can go and get the Hierarch on turn 2 and have Fable that way. I think I'm going to fetch a basic Swamp here. We can play on basics this game without much trouble. So I'm just going to get... Oh, wait, what am I talking about? We don't have a basic Swamp at all, do we? We just have the one basic. So this is probably Bayou. And then we'll Thoughtseize our opponent. Okay, glad that I Thoughtseized this hand. It's not an easy one to choose here. Like we take the Doomsday and they still just get us on turn 2 with the Doomsday there. If we take the Petal, then that slows them down a turn. Alright, I'm going to take the Petal and try and slow them down a turn. Not sure how we necessarily interact with this one. Wastelands would be good. So there's the Misty. So they're holding up Veil of Summer rather than doing this personal tutor because they don't need to now. They need to make sure they've got enough lands first. Collector Ouphe. Is that exciting to me? Not particularly, but I think it's the best thing we're doing this turn. It beats down. It makes some of their lines worse. If I'd have known I was drawing the Collector Ouphe, I probably wouldn't have taken the Petal. We didn't know. Right, so we're probably going to see an Undercity Sewers here and get a little bit of surveil action. Our opponent wants to find their 3rd land or a Dark Ritual. Okay, they binned off a Force of Will. That's good news for us. That means they didn't have the thing they wanted on top. There's Polluted Delta. They've got a land here. They'll cast the... Okay, they're going for Thoughtseize. They're probably going to take the Green Sun in case we've got anything spooky we can do with it. Because you just don't know sometimes. They could just take the Fable because it can dig to more answers. Yeah, okay, sure. They do not fear our Green Sun Zenith. Right, so now they're going to cast a personal tutor if they've got a land in hand. Oh wait, they don't need to cast a personal tutor, do they? Unless they want to get something specific with it and they've already got another blue card. Right, so they've got the Veil of Summer just being held up here around timings of having to crack their fetch on our turn. So what can we fetch with this Green Sun? If we fetch a Hierarch this turn, That's 3 damage this turn. That puts them to 13. They cast a Doomsday. They go down to 6. And that's a 2-turn clock, which won't be good enough. If we fetch a 2-drop, we take them down to 14. They go down to 7. And then we attack them for like 4 next turn. And it's the same maths either way. But if we go and get... Yeah, so if we get the Hierarch here, this gives us a chance of drawing something. But our opponent's got this Force of Will personal tutor problem. Alright, we don't have to worry about that problem anymore. Right, so we'll play this Wooded Foothills and we'll go and get one of our Surveil lands. So now we put our opponent to 13. So it's the same damage calculation, except we have 1 less for next turn. So they should be casting Doomsday right now. There it is. Okay, there's the Delta. We're going to see the Doomsday. Our opponent's only got 1 mystery card in hand, though. So there's a very strong possibility we get another turn. And maybe we draw a Minsc and Boo. If we draw Minsc and Boo, we get... what, 4, 5, 6? That'd be exactly lethal. So let's do some surveilling. Right, our opponent was relatively quick with that pile. Interesting. So we got here. Let's have a quick look through. Nothing unusual, just a classic Turbo Doomsday list. Alright, so we need to get this Minsc and Boo going. And hope our opponent doesn't... the last card in their hand isn't... No, they need a cantrip and a land. Obviously, I'm not an expert with Doomsday, and I'm really bad at the maths with what you do with it. But I believe we are getting another turn. Alright, so we'll crack this. It doesn't really matter what land we get here, as long as it's one of these ones. Punishing Fires. So we can put our opponent to 4. We can hit our opponent for 4. But then, is that good enough? If we put our opponent to 2, they can't cycle Street Wraiths. How many Street Wraiths are in here? 1 Street Wraith. Alright, we need to count what's in there. So how many Ponders? 1 Ponder, 2 Ponder, 3 Ponder, 4 Ponder. Okay, so all the Ponders are counted for while Brainstorms. 1 Brainstorm, 2 Brainstorm, 3 Brainstorm. Okay, so I have a Brainstorm on top, but no Consider. How many Edge of Autumns? 1 Edge of Autumn here, 1 Street Wraith, 2 Street Wraith. How many Street Wraiths these decks normally run? I think it's 2. So they don't have any Street Wraiths in their pile. So I don't believe this works for us. So this has to go into the graveyard. We need the Minsc and Boo. We'll play this one out and get another Surveil land at end step. But I don't believe we're going to get another turn here. Although there's no Consider in the pile, which is interesting. But yeah, so there's the Brainstorm that we counted that they had. So they've got 2 mana here. So they need mana source plus some cycling. So they've got 1 Edge of Autumn in there at least. Yep, so now there's 2 cards left in their library, so they can play a land. Yep, so this can fetch 1 and put them down to 1 card in library. And they should have the Oracle in hand here. Not quite able to get across the line there. So, what is useful in this matchup? I like some Red Blasts. I think they're interesting. I think the Endurances are interesting. Cindervines is interesting. A Surgical is interesting if we can take the thing out of their hand. The Furies, not so much here. Same with Punishing Fires. Lightning Bolt, we can use that to hit some stuff, but again, I don't think that's where we want to be. Sometimes you do get the burn to get through, but I don't think that's where we want to try and win this game. Do you want Veils? I don't think we do. Like, they will have some Thoughtseize and stuff, but that's not what we're about. I think we just leave 1 Lightning Bolt in. Collector Ouphe has some text. We could have another Ouphe instead of a Lightning Bolt. Again, it does have some text in this matchup. Scavenging Ooze doesn't really have the most text here, so we can probably just turn that into a Bolt. I like the ability to just suddenly close the game with a Minsc and Boo. Grist and Klothys are probably too slow. Just have a couple more bolts. These can kill a Thassa's Oracle if they go for like a weird line where they're going with cards in library because of pressure we're applying. Basically, we just want to draw our Bowmasters because that card is real good in this matchup. Turn 1 Hierarch, so that will give us the Endurance, which we can mess with the number of cards in their library. It also gets us a turn 2 Fable, which is very strong. So I think we're getting a Taiga off of this. Alright, then we'll pass. Underground Sea. Getting Thoughtseize. Oh, they're pushing our guy. Sure. That's kind of annoying. I'd love to find a land here. But, right, we did find a land. So we'll crack this. I think we want a green source. So it's probably a Bayou here. We can either play this Collector Ouphe or we can just guarantee ourselves the mana next turn, which I think is the correct thing to do here. We've got emergency pitch endurance if we need it, but we're looking to play Fable the Mirror Breaker and cycle this Collector Ouphe into something else perhaps. Like, Collector Ouphe is fine. It's better than some of our bad cards, but it's not necessarily one of our good cards, if that makes sense. They didn't shuffle off the Ponder. Sure, I don't hate that as a draw. Let's make the Fable. Alright, now our plan is to discard some cards, draw into Orcish Bowmasters, try to win the game that way. Alright, a Bayou. That's scary. If our opponent didn't get a Surveil land, that is scary for us. That either means they need the green for something right now, or they just wanted to have the mana untapped. Alright, so we're going to see a Petal here. Feel our opponent is casting a Doomsday, and they're holding up this Bayou. That is interesting. Is that for the Veil to protect themselves? What are they worried that we could do? I know what they're doing. They're trying to play around. Well, they're trying to play around like Simon's Spirit Guide Pyroblast, maybe something like that. If they're trying to go this turn, but that seems unlikely because they need to have like a Lion's Eye Diamond and a bunch of other stuff. I don't know. Leaving the Bayou up is interesting. Like, you could leave the Lotus Petal up and have access to all your colours. I guess Lotus Petal doesn't play around Force of Vigor. If we do that in awkward timing, but I don't know. I think we're just going to lose this one. Let's have a look. So they brought in Leylines of Sanctity. No, like, shouldered pivots or anything like that. It's the things we more or less expected. There's a Street Oath there, Street Oath there. Veil of Summer, Veil of Summer. I don't see any of the Edge of Autumns in there. Okay. So is Lion's Eye Diamond a card that they're using? Lotus Petal, Lotus Petal, Lotus Petal. Lion's Eye Diamond isn't a card they're using, so we can throw this guy away. So we say yes. We're definitely getting rid of this. I'm quite happy just to have some green cards. We can cast one of these, so we might as well bin off this Ouphe, I think. Okay, so let's play this one out. Grove of the Burnwillows is fine. Is that fine? We're going to cast our thing anyway. Sure. Let's just attack for 3 here. So the plan is to Minsc and Boo next turn. But this turn we've got Endurance and Endurance Pitchcast. So we pitchcast the first one because we're more likely to resolve the second one. And we'd rather have the hardcast one be the one that we resolve. An island. So our opponent has got lots of lands, so they're going to be happy to pitch things here. Okay, that's interesting. I'm not doing anything, then we'll just make the Endurance end step here. Alright, we win the game. We didn't actually have lethal damage there, but they obviously know what's in their pile, so they know if they're dead or not. Alright, I think our plan was fine, and we should just do that again. I like Mana's Denial. Cindervines is okay, but I don't think it's worth it here. Okay, this one's a lot better. We can keep this. I don't think we need this Outland Liberator. So we can ramp out, hold up our Pyroblast. Our opponent's mulligan to 5. So we're getting a little bit fortunate here that they didn't just have the Stone Cold Nut straight away. They can still turn 1 us with a 5-card hand. And they may well just do exactly that. Underground Sea. Lotus Petal, okay. So it begins. Are they playing this because they're doing something now, or are they playing it to get it out of their hand for the purposes of Thoughtseizes? Feels like they're doing it to get Thoughtseizes out of the way. Okay, Doomsday on top, not a surprise. An Ignoble Hierarch. Sure, I'll play it off of a Taiga. If they've got the combo next turn where they cast a Doomsday and immediately win the game, then sure, we lose. But I think we have to commit this Hierarch so we've at least got something going on. A Brainstorm. Okay. So that suggests to me they're not necessarily casting the Doomsday right now. Which is an interesting line. Okay, so they're telling us that Wastelands are good. Verdant Catacombs. So we could go and get a Collector Ouphe right now and shut down our opponent's Lotus Petal. That's kind of the same as a Wasteland here. It's annoying we don't get to hold it as Pyroblast, but our opponent's last turn makes me think that we're going to get away with it here. Alright. Oh wow, they're just scooping it to the Collector Ouphe. Alright, 2-0. Giving them a good junding. We do have some tools against combo, and they were just enough in this situation because our opponent didn't quite have what they needed. Alright, let's go to round 3. Alright, our opening hand for round 3 is a little bit clunky because we have this Thoughtseize we can't cast. We'd just be sitting here not doing anything until turn 3. Maybe we'll fire off a lightning bolt. That doesn't seem great. I think we can do better. This has some problems as well. And we don't get to find a basic here. Alright, I'm going to reluctantly keep this one. I'm going to throw back a Punishing Fire. Like, this Collector Ouphe can pitch to an Endurance and maybe is randomly useful. Meticulous Archive. Okay, unlikely this Collector Ouphe is useful. But it might be useful as a green card. Triumph of St. Catherine. Okay, so we're less likely to be up against Wastelands. That's something. Green is our base colour, but we have red spells. What are we fetching here? If we fetch a Badlands here, any other land we draw will be a green source. And we need to draw another land to do anything anyway. So, Badlands it is. What are you working with, opponents? Yeah, these are all pretty annoying cards. The Dress Down is interesting. This makes me think our opponent's playing Bant Dreadnought. It could just be a control thing though, because they've got the Triumph, so maybe this is just a one-of. Murktide Regent is a really annoying one for us to deal with here. So it's the Plough. I think we'll take the Plough for now. And we'll probably go back in for the Murktide in a bit with this other Thoughtseize. So maybe they'll be trying to dump some cards in their graveyard and get close to this Murktide. And we can say no with this Thoughtseize. But we're going to need some help here, deck. That's not the one. Alright. Let's go back in for another look. We will take this Murktide Regent. Hopefully we can draw out before our opponent finds anything to actually win the game with. Now, if they just make land drops and start casting things like Lorien Revealed, then that's going to be awkward for us, and they're going to end up with just so many cards that we're unlikely to come back. But we did beat that control deck earlier, so maybe we can do it again. Right, there's the island we've seen. Come on, deck. Give us a land. It's going to be like a Dryad Arbor or something, isn't it? It's not a Dryad Arbor. Okay, we're just stuck here with our Badlands. At any point, our opponent can find another Triumph of St. Catherine and just have a really, really tough threat for us to deal with. We'll have to pitch 3 cards to try and kill it. Right, so I've got another Misty. It's going to be a second white source. Nope, it's green source, so we're going to see a Beanstalk. Yep. Next time they cast on Revealed, and I'm not sure we're coming back from that. Is it worth showing our opponents that we have Grove of the Burnwillows in our deck for this game where they're about to draw 4 cards and be absolutely flush with resources? I think I'd rather conceal the information about what our deck does. Okay, so doing control stuff again. Do we think they're going to have... I guess they've got Murktide, so Pick Your Poison is always going to have some impact there. I like having more threats against control decks. We don't know if they're playing ley lines, but we can assume they are because they're playing Beanstalk. It seems likely. How do we feel about Pyroblasts? Like, again, they're fine. We've seen Murktide, so maybe they got a few more threats than some other builds. But I'm not super high on these ones. Punishing Fire is kind of a win condition. I think the Lightning Bolts are the weakest thing here. Collector Ouphe looks bad. Outland Liberator is going to be okay. Scavenging Ooze, not so much. Fury is a threat, so we want to keep that on board. Probably just trimming a Punishing Fire here. So we've just gone up on threats. And we've got a little bit of different interaction. So this is a much better hand. We'll keep this. We want a black source off of this. And we want it to be green so it can cast the green pip of our Endurance. So we're going to get a buy to begin with. We can Thoughtseize into Bowmasters. It's a pretty powerful start. Let's take a look. Can we poke a hole in it? Alright, Force of Negation is interesting there. They thought about it. We're going to take this Plow. I'm not a big fan of the Wasteland that I'm seeing in our opponent's hand. That's going to be a bit of a doozy, I would imagine. Oh, they played the Trop. And they got a Ponder. Okay, I think we're lucky they drew that Ponder. If they didn't draw that Ponder, I think they were likely to cast to play their Wasteland and Wasteland us. So I think we kind of dodged the bullet a little bit there. They did not shuffle. Right, we'll play this Grove of the Burnwillows. We know they got Force of Negation. We don't know if they're playing their own Bowmasters. Right, there's a Flooded Strand. I think because we've got threats lined up, we are just going to play this one. They might brainstorm a response if they have one. They do not. So we're just going to keep casting threats until our opponent dies. That's the plan. We've got this Endurance which can shrink potential Murktides. I imagine they're going to crack a fetch and do a Lore Revealed. So they're going to Lore Revealed and then they're going to Meticulous Archive off of this Flooded Strand. That would be my guess. So they could put a bunch of cards in. Yeah, so there's a Lore Revealed cycle. There's a Tundra. Are you going to crack your fetch and get a Meticulous Archive? They are. Put a card in the graveyard, they might be able to Murktide, which would obviously be a pain for us. I'm going to cast this Endurance in their upkeep, just to make it harder for them to do exactly that. So a green-red source is probably quite nice here. We want to have more red mana for Punishing Fires. Green, green, and one. Right, no Murktides for you. So like a single fetch land would do it, or they could just Wasteland us and then Murktide. And we want to make sure that we're the ones applying all the pressure here. And we don't just want them to have a big creature that can roadblock and buy them time. So we know they have a Force of Negation, so I'm not a big fan of this Minsc and Boo. So what we might do is fire off this Punishing Fire and see if the temptation there to exile our Punishing Fire permanently is good enough. A Bowmasters, sure. So we're going to lose our Bowmasters, which is going to unlock some of their best stuff. All their cantrips and such. A Fury. So I think we are casting this Punishing Fires on this Bowmasters. Is this good enough to get this Force of Negation? That's kind of what we're trying to... Yes, we did. We baited it out. Excellent. So this means we have Minsc and Boo next turn. We are the aggro, so we will be attacking here. So they could Wasteland us, which would take us off of Minsc and Boo. But if we draw a land, we get to play it anyway. And we have a Wooded Foothills to try and find the correct... Okay, they didn't play it. So yeah, we can use this to try and find another land if we need to. But we don't need to now. So we know two of the cards in our opponent's hand right now. So Forcible Blue card isn't an option anymore. So I think we would like another black source here, just in case we get wasted off. So we would like to take this Raucous Theater. Grist, yeah, Planeswalkers. I'll eat up all the Planeswalkers I can get my hands on. Let's just play this one. This is the game ender right now. Our opponent doesn't have the most amount of resources in hand, because we know two of them are lands. Unless I've lost track somewhere. I could have another Force of Negation and hardcast it. That'd obviously be very good here. They could have a removal spell for the hamster, so that we don't get to gas it up. Gassing up hamster. It feels horrible having to burn a removal spell on this, but it is what it is. Right, so that was our opponent's last card in hand. But they've got these two lands, obviously, but that's the last card that does anything on this board. Then we just get to stick another Planeswalker next turn and get our Minsc and Boo rolling. Right, sure, you can attack our Minsc till 3. There's the Wasteland. Bring out the Grove in case you draw another Fires. Makes sense. We have the full spread of dual land types. Huh, I must have lost track of a card somewhere because now we have a Murktide Regent. How big is it? A 5/5. That is an awkward size, isn't it? Let's make one of these. So I don't have this Tundra then. Oh no, the Murktide was what they drew, so they have the Tundra left. Okay. Either way, we have a plan here. So green, black, and this. We'll sacrifice our hamster, kill their Murktide, bash with Endurance. Alright, our opponent's had enough. Okay, I like how we sideboarded here. Part of me is a little bit tempted to bring in some blasts for the Murktide. That's kind of a way that things can get out of hand for us. Is a Pyroblast over a Mawloc. That's pretty good. How useful is this Cindervines? It can blow up some of their annoying permanents for sure. I like Punishing Fire to take out their Bowmasters, but do we care about Bowmasters? Maybe we don't care about Bowmasters and we just rather have another Pyroblast. Just have the one Punishing Fires in there. The double Wasteland against the multicolored control deck is certainly tempting me. I think we're going to go for it. Right, Underground Sea from our opponent. If we find like a Hierarch or something, then we can pivot into playing that. But otherwise, I'm happy just to Wasteland our opponent here. Take them off of blue for a bit. White is the colour I'd rather get rid of. So we have an option here of either Wastelanding our opponent, or we can Wooded Foothills and get a Surveil land. I think we're just going to see if we can strand our opponent's hand by taking out their mana base. Right, they're floating. I imagine we're going to see either a Brainstorm or a Cycle here. It's a Cycle. I'd rather have seen a Brainstorm, but beggars can't be choosers, I suppose. Right, they've got a Tundra, so that's a removal colour that we can then waste. Right, there is the Tundra. And then we stick to the plan. See another Lorien revealed. I'd rather see a Brainstorm here, but... Oh, yes, it's a Brainstorm. That's what we want to see. Are you going to be Brainstorm locked? Let's find out. So then we've just got 2 Surveil lands into Fable or something. Alright, they found a land. So we slowed the game down, but I'm not really sure we achieved very much with it at the end of the day. No second land. Alright, we did achieve something. Let's go and get the commercial district here. Green mana is more likely to be useful for 1-drops for us. Badlands, that can go into the graveyard. We've got plenty of mana. So we could play Cindervines this turn. That seems reasonable. So as they're trying to fetch for, you know, get all their cantrips going to try and find their lands, we're going to be taxing them some life here. Weird game. A Hydro Blast. Sure. On a Cindervines. That means our Fable the Mirror Breaker is more likely to resolve, so I will certainly take that. Now, our opponent obviously has a bunch of spells in hand because they don't have any lands. That's how the game works. A Brainstorm. Are they Brainstorm locked? A Klothys is really nice, but I think we're better off getting the Fable into play. I'm a little bit worried about Murktide. A Daze. Didn't know our opponent was running Dazes. That's interesting. Okay, so I think I'm incentivized to play the Endurance and a... What's it called? Surveil land next turn. We'll do that on our opponent's turn, so if they have to do anything, it's going to mess with what they can cast on their own turn. Would I rather have an Ignoble Hierarch, or would I rather have a Surveil land? I think I'd rather have a Surveil land. So we're just going to, in our opponent's upkeep, cast this. Because the Hierarch doesn't really add very much, considering the amount of mana we're working with at the moment. Green, green, colourless. Let's see if we can strip their graveyard and stop Murktide becoming a thing. We've got a decent selection of answers for Murktide. Grist, Pyroblast, all that sort of jazz. Another Brainstorm. So Murktide isn't coming into play this turn anyway. But what I'd like to do is strip their graveyard and then stick a Klothys, so we can just keep their graveyard under wraps for the rest of the game. Never have to worry about Murktide. And also just start draining them out with a hard to deal with permanent. Right. Let's say no to Murktides. And the end step, we can go and fetch our Raucous Theater. Do you want another Grove? No, not really. We only have 1 Punishing Fires left in our deck anyway, so it's not really a big deal. Okay. 1 red, green. Let's get this Klothys on the go. Then we can play this Hierarch and bash for more. Alright. Force of winning that. So that the reason we play that one first is because Minsc and Boo is better. We may as well play our Dryad Arbor as well. We're not going to get Wrathed. I guess we get Terminus. But it's more like our opponent just has lots of spot removal. They might have like 1 Verdict or like 1 Terminus or something like that. Alright. Let's try and cast the big boy. Alright, our opponent's had enough. And we are junding away. So what's that? 3-0 now? Yeah, 3-0 with a jund. Positive record locked in. Let's get to round 4. this hand for round 4. It will be very good against very specific things, but I don't think we can keep this one. Let's have... Okay, this is much better. It's a very similar hand. I think we're probably throwing away the Fury here. That's a problem for later. So, depending on what our opponent does on turn 1, we'll decide whether we are Thoughtseizing or Wastelanding. Or Hierarching. Okay. Expedition map. Yikes. So I think we are incentivized to Thoughtseize here. Purely because the Thoughtseize is unlikely to get better. But now we might be able to take out... Okay, yeah. Take out something. I was thinking more like a crop rotation, but I'll take that. Alright, so our opponent has Dark Depths combo. We don't really have good answers to Dark Depths combo apart from this Wasteland, which is a pretty good answer. But the Echoing Deeps is a bit... Oh, they played the Echoing Deeps. That's excellent for us. Okay, so play out this Wasteland, play out this Hierarch. So we can see what they get with the Expedition map and then decide how to point our Wasteland at things. And cracking the Expedition map. They are. We can see what they get. Obviously, they have priority to play a land. But they've got a Wasteland, sure. They're just going to Wasteland our Wasteland. They are not. Maze of Ith. Okay, like that's kind of annoying. But we can work through that eventually. Okay, so... play this Raucous Theater. Get our Surveil on. Put that on top, please. I would very much like some mana. And I guess we pass and we can put in a Bowmasters. Right, a Mox Diamond. This is going to pitch, what, a Misty Rainforest. Okay. Life from the Loam. That's a real kicker. So we've got here Wasteland. A bunch of other stuff. Yeah, this is getting pretty sketchy. Yep, so we're going to lose our Raucous Theater here. And eventually this Life from the Loam will produce a Merit Lage. And that will produce some frowny faces from me. This matchup feels like it is going to be the one that really does us in. We did surprisingly well against the control decks, but this one, we have one basic in our deck. We don't have any like Mages of the Moon action that we can bring in and cause havoc. So I think we are deploying Fable the Mirror Breaker here. Like they can Wasteland our Wastelands, but we keep the colored spell for when we need it. The colored land, sorry. So we attack for 2 and we deal 1 damage because of the maze. Yep, Life from the Loam. Here it is, doing a thing. So these treasure tokens from the Goblin Shaman will be a real godsend for us. Yep, you can Wasteland our Wasteland. A Green Sun Zenith. What does that get us here? 1, 2, 3. We can get a Scavenging Ooze. We're unlikely to be able to do much with it. 1, 2, 3, 4. We could get an Endurance. Post-combat Endurance. That seems pretty good. Right, so attack with 3 guys and force through 2 damage, I imagine. Actually play this. Green Sun Zenith. Green, 1, 2, 3. Let's go get that Endurance. Our opponent knows what's coming. We could get Klothys, but I think that's a little bit foolhardy. I think we are better off getting the Endurance here. They just shut down their engine. And if they don't find another Wasteland, they're drawing a card. This is going to dredge the Loam. Right, but they're not going to have anything to get back with the Loam. That's fine though. So they don't have a Wasteland. We can hit their maze and then crack for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, they're going to make a 20/20, which is just going to kill us. Ugh. So far, but couldn't quite cross it. Couldn't quite cross the line we needed to there. Are they going to let us untap with our Wasteland? That would be foolish. Okay, they've realised that would be foolish. Okay. How are we supposed to beat Dark Depths is a good question. They might have picked that Thespian stage up last turn. I didn't quite notice when it happened. It's only a possibility. Alright, another Loam, sure, yeah. Alright. I understand, opponent. You want us to lose. And you're doing a very good job of making that happen. So, we can start copying stuff next turn. Are we just serving with some guys? So we could Wasteland this to get more damage through this turn. And we can play this. And I think we're attacking with these guys for a little bit. They're going to eat our Shaman token. But then we crack back for 2. And then the Endurance chump blocks return. And somehow we try and win. A Tabernacle. Well, well, well. If it isn't Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. If they play that, we will lose the game. There's not really much we can do about that one. Yeah, I can see that one. Yeah, that was pretty brutal, to be honest. Circuit Extraction seems fine. Not big into Cindervines. I'll take these things that smash up in its graveyard. Force of Vigor and blow up Sphere Resistance, Urza's Saga, Mox Diamonds, that sort of thing. Pick Your Poison can take their Marillage out once it's in play. Lightning Bolts, not doing anything for us here. Punishing Fires, not doing anything for us here. We just want threats, and we want things that interact a little bit. And this is probably the best configuration we have, but it doesn't feel great. Like, the Collector Ouphe is okay. Do we want to bring in another one over something like a Mawloc? Mawloc is unlikely to fight very much. So we can shut down some Moxes, and maybe that will strand some cards in their hand or slow them down. Thoughtseize is pretty bad, but we're on the play, so we can use it to take out something crucial, but it's going to be a bad draw. This matchup is just going to be a bit rough altogether, if I'm being perfectly honest. Okay, I think this isn't great, but I don't know what a great hand is going to look like in this matchup. Maybe I'm being defeatist and we could do better. Okay, so let's get a Bayou here. No, let's get Badlands, actually. And we will force our opponent to try and take out something like an Exploration or a Crop Rotation, that sort of thing. 2 crop rotations and an exploration. Well, that's all the things, isn't it? Alright, we'll take out this exploration this turn, and we can take out the library next turn. That's actually alright for us. Because we can Wasteland this Saga, if that's what they go for. I doubt they're just going to play out the Naked Saga. They're probably just going to play out the Misty and hold up crop rotation for anything weird. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so we get to take out this Sylvan Library. Crucible of Worlds. That's a card that I do love a great deal. It's my favourite card. But how are we supposed to beat this? Like, they're going to fetch a basic forest. And then we're in trouble. Okay, Adra Savannah. Our Wastelands are pretty bad in the face of these crop rotations. Okay, I guess we're just going to keep Thoughtseizing our opponent. This isn't how I would like to play this game, but we can take this Crucible out now. We're kind of hoping that we can find a way through these crop rotations. So we want to be able to deal with the Marillage when the time comes. Urza's Saga. So I think it's more important here to get a Surveil off than it is to put this Bowmasters in play. Do you want the Commercial District because that has green attached to it? Okay. So we can try and remove this Urza's Saga if we want to with this Pick Your Poison. What does that do for us? They crop rotate it into Dark Depths, and then the Dark Depths kill us. Yuck. That seems bad. Maybe Fury can be good enough to take out their constructs when they start popping off. They could just go down the route of, let's make our Thespian stage into an Urza Saga, then turn it into a basic forest and just have this unkillable construct machine. But these crop rotations are very, very awkward. But I think we had to take the other stuff because otherwise they just overpower us with other things. So they can make a 1/1 guy. I don't care about that. So we'll send in both of our guys because Bowmasters doesn't really do very much against them. Yep, our opponent correctly identifies that they don't care about that. They probably don't crop rotate this turn. Probably just make a construct, hold up crop rotation in case we try to get frisky. Yeah, they might have a Pithy Needle that they can name Wasteland with. But if we fire off this Wasteland, we also lose anyway, so just nothing going on here. Yeah, we can't play into that. Alright, it wasn't a Pithy Needle, so that's something. Another Saga. They're going to beat us with Sagas. That's fair. And at any point we drop our Wasteland, our opponent can just kill us. So that's bad. That's real bad. Are we supposed to just hope? Right, let's sacrifice an enchantment, please. Let's get rid of this next batch of sagas. Then let's play this Hierarch. If we attack for 2 with this, we can then pitch cast our Fury and kill both. Well, I guess we can kill both if we don't do that. Opponent is not falling for it. Okay. I guess we're chump blocking with the Bowmasters. I'd like to draw a land so we can play this Fury whilst holding up Wasteland. Our opponent has us beat if they want us beat. At this point, I think we need to play our Fury, so I'm just going to pass here. Because if we play out the Fury here, they can just get us. They should just be able to get us here. And if we target the Wasteland on the Thespian stage, they just crop rotate it later. Like, they lose 2 lands, but they end up making a 20/20 in another turn afterwards. So we've got one of these. Misty Rainforest, sure. Opponent's very passive, but they probably understand their role in this matchup. Just to keep me hemmed in. But can they beat Fury into Fury? 3-1 is fine. Okay. Now we have 2 Wastelands. That's a lot more. Alright, we're going to see a crop rotation into a Saga. Right, so there's one of the crop rots down. Right, they've got themselves a Wasteland. They're trying to Wasteland our Wasteland. So if we do this Thespian stage, they can turn into a forest if they want to. By cracking their Misty. Yeah, that's what they're going for. So we can now Wasteland this and they'll crop rotate it away. But that gets rid of the crop rotation at least. A Maze of Ith. Sure. I can stop our Fury from doing some work. But we have 2 Furies. Right, so our opponent's going to play this Mox Diamond. And that's the last card in their hand. So probably not attacking into our double striker. Fable is good, but I think we're just casting this while we have the mana to cast it. Because our mana might come under attack from Wastelands in the near future. Somehow, we found a way into this game. I'm not going to waste our opponent's time by attacking with this Fury into their Maze of Ith. If it tapped for mana or something, then sure, I would do that. But, you know, like if they had like a Yavimaya or something in play, then it's worth making them know that I'm going to make them tap it down. We do have a basic, so this first Ghost Quarter isn't too much of an issue. Let's get rid of this Maze of Ith. Let's bash for loads. Alright, we tied the match. Let's try again. I don't think we'd change anything sideboard-wise here. Cindervines can do some stuff. It can blow up some construct tokens, I guess. I think our opponent should have been way more aggressive with some of their pieces early on. Like, they could have just crop rotated for Wasteland early on. Wastelanded our 1 Wasteland, and then when we fire it off, they just crop rotate and combo. But that's the mindset of a lands player versus my mindset, which is of a depths player. I think we're just going to go in like this. I like the Klothys, but I don't like the lack of mana sources. So I will mulligan this one. We have slightly more mana sources. I will take this one, and I think it's the Fury that goes. We don't have anything for it just yet. A Mox Diamond. An Ancient Tomb. A Crucible of Worlds. Okay. This is going to get really bad for us really quickly. Is that art? No, not a fan of that art. Not for me, that one. So our Wasteland is basically a 1-turn reprieve unless we've got an Endurance to follow up with, which we do have. But whether or not we want to burn it on a single thing remains to be seen. We could be dead very soon. There's the Dark Depths. No additional follow-up. Alright, I'll play a Wasteland. Then I'll play Hierarch here. I don't think I'm just getting a Dryad Arbor. Like, it still dies to Wasteland. I think we're just passing here. And I don't want to tap the Wasteland either. Just want to hold that up the whole time. If we can nail their Mox Diamond, we might be able to cut them off with green. Alright, so much for that plan. We could have paid for 1 and attacked for 2, actually. We missed 1 point of damage last turn, the way we did that. Right, we're going to attack for... If we attack for 1, We can go wide, or we can just play the endurance. Like, they're not doing loam stuff, so our graveyard hate isn't really going to do much, but we can just play as a body. And you start crashing with a 5-power guy. Sylvan Library. That's a pretty good card, but Orcish Bowmasters is also a pretty good card. A Maze of Ith. Alright, so that makes the endurance a lot worse. Unless we Wasteland their Maze of Ith and then cast endurance. That's a pretty good play. So if we Wasteland this Maze of Ith now, that can expose us to Marit Lage combo soon. Crop rotation. Sure. Just getting the stage here. No, a Saga. Sure, I'd much rather play against that than I would the 2020. So we'll cast this. Say no to Maze of Ith in your graveyard. We can obviously crop rotate it or go and get the expedition map, but this should buy us a couple of turns of beatdown. Hopefully that 1 point of damage we missed earlier won't come back to bite us. Alright, so I want to cast this Green Sun Zenith, I believe. No, that's not true. We want to cast this Orcish Bowmasters, don't we? I don't think we want a Green Sun Zenith for 1. For 0, just to get the Dryad Arbor. I don't think that's what I'm about. If we find another land, we can do more. But we do have 2 Green Sun Zeniths. No, I think we just save it for now. I did not choose for our Bowmaster to ping them from a whole bunch. A wise decision, I think. We could go and get something like Outland Liberator next turn. And that'd be pretty good. But we died to crop rotation pretty quick. Okay. We'll attack with our endurance here. It's large. They crop rotate, we die. A plow. Okay. A little bit sad. So I think we're just getting the Outland Liberator here, which I believe is still in the deck. There it is. Raucous Theater. A Wasteland. This isn't great, is it? It can buy us like a turn and it can stop this from being a combo, so I guess we keep it. I don't feel great about that though. Our opponent's pretty reluctant to make 2020s, which is good for us. So I could get Expedition Map. And maybe this Outland Liberator makes them want the Expedition Map, because we obviously can't blow that up. But if our opponent doesn't play any spells this turn, Outland Liberator flips, and then when it attacks, it just gets to eat some artifacts. That can be pretty tasty. Alright, yeah, so they got the Expedition Map. I don't believe they can combo this turn. So that's a bit of a reprieve for us, and then hopefully this Wasteland will be enough to stop the Depths combo. Obviously, they can Crucible of Worlds it back, so they should just go for it, we hit it, and then they eventually go, ugh, another. Oh, opponent, why are you being so mean? Why are you trying to win the game? It's very rude. Just let me win. Okay, so what are we doing this turn? We can attack with a 5/5 that immediately blows up their Crucible. I don't hate that. I'd like to blow up your Crucible of Worlds, please. And attack with 5/5, so these will be 4/4s. They can double block if they like. So we put 4 damage on this and 1 damage on this. Then this will shrink to a 3/3, so we won't be able to kill it. Would I rather blow up one of their permanents they have here, or just take out one of their guys? I think I'd rather just take out one of their guys. Right, so now we can take out this. If we take this out, so next turn, no, we can't take out this, because then they go and get, instead they just go and get the Thespian Stage and we lose to that. What can we get with this Green Sun Zenith? Klothys? Klothys is good here, right? It can keep our life total going. Yeah. Is that better than an Endurance? Is Klothys better than Endurance, or is Grist better? Collector Ouphe shutting down their Expedition Maps. They can't combo this turn. It's pretty tight as well. Right, let's shut down their Expedition Map. And then I think we can take out this Saga now, because the Expedition Map is shut off. Oh, jeez. This doesn't feel like an easy game, that's for sure. They're going to forget that we have a Bowmasters? No. Oh, they had the Thespian Stage in hand. Yikes. Okay. we need to draw. Pick your poison. A green sun Zenith buys us a turn. An endurance buys us a turn. So we've got a bunch of those in our deck now. Green sun Zenith. That buys us a turn. Do we have any way of getting rid of this Marit Lage? I don't believe we do, aside from pick your poison. What is our devotion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're not going to get good enough devotion here, are we? X is currently 3. Alright, we get ourselves an endurance. Buy ourselves a little bit of time. I don't think... Is the Grist enough to do anything here? No, I don't think it is. I think we just need to buy ourselves a turn. Let's tuck that little graveyard away as well. We don't have to block this turn either. We can just take the 20 because we're on 23. We have the crack back for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This construct token is kind of in our way. Bajuka Bog, sure. Another crop rotation. A blast zone, you say? That can strip out a bunch of our things, can't it? Goodbye, Ignoble Hierarchs, I guess. That does shrink their construct, though. Is that going to be relevant? I don't know. Are we taking 20 this turn? If we take 20, we kill this, we might be able to win the game. Yeah, we'll take the 20. 7 damage. We can't get our opponent with an Orcish Bowmasters because they choose on resolution here. So if we attack with this Orc army and this Bowmasters and this Ouphe, play this out. We attack with these. We have to attack with all of them. That does unlock their Mox Diamond, but I don't really care about that. They block any of these, we can ping them down. If they don't block, then they die, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They don't quite die. Alright, so I will cast this guy. Really tight margins in this game. Our opponent's on 3. So if they hold back to blocks, we have hold back to block, we win. If they kill our guy, we obviously lose. We can go get Dryad Arbor for 1 more point of power here. Have we found a route? This is the classic JUND grind. Alright, I haven't blown up our creature yet. Alright, chump block, ahoy. So by not chump blocking last time, we did give ourselves a chance to try and win the game right there and then. Let's crack this, go to 2. Dryad Arbor. With the annoying art. It looks just like a normal forest. An endurance. Am I supposed to attack with everything here? What could they have for 1 card? They could plough their own Marit Lage. I don't care if they do that though. If they plough this, we're fine. If they make a big guy and block this, we're fine. We just attack with everything. Crop rotation. This doesn't do it, right? What have they got? Have they got Glacial Chasm? Or they're just having a look to see what they find? Oh, they got another Ancient Tomb. They're going to show themselves the door. Respect it. Oh, that was an incredible round of Magic the Gathering. That was really hard work. And we had to play to every tiny little out there. But we did manage to grind our way through it. Oh, I feel bad beating a fellow lover of Marit Lages. I do think in the second game, our opponent could have been more proactive with doing their combo. But like I said, that's a different mindset with like the lands deck versus me who plays Turbo decks, where you're always thinking, how do I get to the combo from here? Our opponent wasn't really interested in that. They wanted to sort of grind us, and we actually found a way that we could slip in and get through. So JUND is powerful. We are 4-0. We're going for a trophy match. That's amazing. All right, can we get a trophy with JUND? Let's find out. Welcome to the trophy match. What does our hand do here? We have a turn on Raucous Theater into turn 2 Mawloc or Bowmasters or Bolt or Thoughtseize. We can do Bolt Thoughtseize on turn 2. This seems fine. And we'll keep this. These Surveil lands are super good. I think playing the slightly bigger JUND build where you can make use of them really helps because selection is difficult to find in some deck. Oh, wow. Opponent's mulligan to 5 cards. Are they just going to windmill us out on turn 1? I hope not. We don't really have anything to do about that. Right, Raucous Theater. Badlands. Yes, we do want some more mana. I will keep that. Ancient Tomb. Okay, this might be alright. This might be our opponent playing a prison deck that was looking for the right pieces. Or it could be goblins. Fourth Lingers. Okay, it's going to be initiative. Archon of Emeria. Okay. That's a little bit awkward, but not for the reasons you'd immediately think. Do we care about any of these lands coming in untapped? Yes, we could Lightning Bolt here, and then Thoughtseize one of our opponent's last cards. Which of these do I care about more? I think we take the Seasoned Dungeoneer, because that's where things just get out of hand, I think. This does leave them able to cast a Fable, but then we can do a 3/3 Mawloc and gobble up their token. They will get to loot, but they're not going to have many cards to start with. Oh, Anointed Peacekeeper, though. Right, we're probably losing the Mawloc here, because that can just trade 1-for-1 with the Peacekeeper. But we'll see what our opponent fancies. We can just play the Grist and just start pumping out tokens. So our opponent might want to try and avoid that. They name Grist, sure. So they're forcing us to trade 1-for-1 if we want to do that. I think the Outland Liberator pop hit their Chromox is the better play here, though. Just cut them off of spells altogether. Alright, so we'll take a hit for 3, but then we can Mawloc, and if we draw one more land, we can Mawloc, and it will survive against the Peacekeeper. Our opponent has been paused for quite a while since we've built up their Chromox. I don't know if that means that they're like double queuing and their attention is elsewhere, if they've just popped to the bathroom or whatever, or they're just very upset that we blew up their Chromox. But we are awaiting their response. Right, our opponent's back. We're going to get cracked for a little bit here. Would love to draw a land. Come on, deck. Be good to me. Oh, you beauty. Red, green, colourless, colourless. Boom. We'll gobble this guy up and be left with a 4/4. That unlocks our Grist. We can just start churning out tokens. If our opponent doesn't make a play this turn, I think the game is over. It's going to be very hard to come back from a Grist. Yep, our opponent agrees. Ooh, one game stands between us and the trophy. What are we supposed to do about this one? So, these things don't have text. So let's move these completely out of the way. These things do have text in the matchup, but how useful is that text? So what we want to do is either have the initiative introduced into the game, take it and stop them from ever getting it back, or we want to stop them from really getting it. Now, we're not a blue deck, so it's hard for us to stop them getting it. So that is not ideal. So creatures like Fury are going to be good here. We want to max out on removal if possible. Collector Ouphe can stop some of their things. They can be quite reliant on Chromoxes like you saw. I don't mind trying to cheese. We do not need Graveyard Hate here. So maybe we'll take a second Collector Ouphe and try and go down that line. Endurances are just creatures. They can gobble up an Archon. They can do some relatively good stuff. Pick your poison. Can blow up an artifact. Can blow up an Archon. That's reasonable, but not the most impressive. Punishing Fire is actually pretty weak here. They're not going to have many creatures who want to fire unless they've got a Magus of the Moon. But if they've got a Magus of the Moon, we've got Lightning Bolts. We can potentially Minsc and Boo it. We've got Fury. We've got Mawloc because we can go and get Basic Forest. So I'm not sold. Like the Thoughtseize on the play is really bad actually. So we can get. Oh, sorry, on the draw is really bad. So we'll get these in for Blood Moons, and we'll also get this in, and then that gives us room for 1 Endurance, and I quite like the look of that. Do I want anything else here? No, I think that's probably where we're at. Alright, let's try it. Thoughtseize on the play against their deck can be good, because they mulligan quite heavily. We can certainly smash some stuff up. Okay, we've got a little bit of removal. We've got access to our basic forest. So we can go forest off of this, and then get like a Badlands off of the other one. And then if they... That allows us to cast the Bowmasters, but then if they Magus of the Moon us, then sure, that can just get us, whatever. So that means we have to fetch the forest first, which means you're probably green sunning for a Dryad Arbor just so we can have a creature on board. But if they have a plow here, that's pretty good as well. So we're going to get the basic forest. So that protects us from that front. Right, I think I'm okay if this gets plowed. It's annoying, for sure, but our opponent has reduced amount of resources over there. Looks like they're F6 through our turn. So our Dryad Arbor gets to live. This means if they play an initiative creature, like the Chaos Adventurer, we can lightning bolt it, steal the initiative, and hopefully start running away with the game a little bit. If they play a Magus, we have that covered. We've got red removal in hand for it. Alright, plow. They not have a second land. Oh, okay. Just draw Wasteland, please. Oh my god, I'm so good at this game sometimes. Alright, let's just get this Wasteland. Better lucky than good, right? Okay. They didn't play a second land last turn. Ancient Tomb. Chrome Mox. What are they imprinting? Fourth Eorlingus. Is this going to be an Archon? Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Sure. So we could play a Bowmaster to shut off their drawing ability. Or we could play an Outland Liberator and just have a turn ready to go. Or we could Punishing Fire this. How much do we think the mana matters to our opponent? How much do we think the draw matters to our opponent? I think the mana is probably very important. So I think we're incentivized to blow up their Goblin Shaman here. So I'm going to go and get the Badlands like we discussed before. And we'll Punishing Fire this guy. And hopefully our opponent can't make a creature. So the way that we get punished here is if they do make a Seasoned Dungeoneer this turn. Whereas the Bowmasters would give us potentially an option to attack and get the initiative back. Right, there's the Plains. It feels like a Seasoned Dungeoneer. There it is. Okay, so things have definitely taken a turn for the more difficult. So this is going to go and get them a basic mountain, I would imagine. We can kill their Seasoned Dungeoneer. We have the ability. And we can do it in our opponent's turn in response to their forging, if that's what they choose to do. Because we can Bowmasters and bolt it. And then that gives us 2 creatures to try and take the initiative. That's not a bad follow-up to have. So let me just make... So this mana and this mana makes the Bowmasters. This makes the bolt. Sure. So in our opponent's upkeep, we'll see what they do with their Undercity. Venture into the Undercity, opponents. Alright, they're going to do this now, aren't they? So we're going to respond with Bowmasters. We're going to ping this. Then we're going to bolt this. And then they don't get their Forge. And we have 2 creatures to take the initiative. We potentially have a removal spell in Mawloc, which can eat their Fable of the Mirror Breaker or their Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. We just don't want to see another big scary thing right now. Bombardiers. That's annoying, but we can beat that. So they probably attack, throw the Chrome Mox at one of our guys. Oh, they're just letting us go to blocks here. No, I don't think we can block. I think we need to get the initiative off our opponent here. Opponent's got 1 card in hand. We kind of need to kill this if we want to get the initiative, is the only problem. Force of Vigor. We could... No, that doesn't work this turn, does it? Alright, so we're going to cast this Mawloc. 1. Right, so this can eat the Reflection this turn. It does leave them with a broadside, but they have to commit something to the board to be able to throw anything. So we get to attack for 1. We can get ourselves... We can't get ourselves a land because we've already got the basic land in play. So we just let this hit. We say no because we don't have anything. If they play like a Chrome Mox, we can Force of Vigor it so that our opponent doesn't get to throw it at one of our creatures. Plateau, 1 card left in our opponent's hand. If they play like a big guy, they might not want to... Okay, they've got another Bombardiers. Okay, so they can bash for 4. And they can throw something at the Mawloc. That's pretty reasonable. So this is going to send them into the traps. That's going to hit us for 5. And then they can hit us for another 3. That'll put us to 5. And be left with just a broadside. Alright, they didn't decide to do that. Lightning bolts. Okay. That certainly does something for us. So we can attack with We attack with the Mawloc to get the extra damage in here, I think. And then we forge onto the Orc army, so it's slightly bigger. And then we play out the Outland Liberator. So we have 2 creatures to block with now, and then we bolt one of these. So we might be there. So we can do this in the beginning of combat before they get to attack. My opponent's paying costs. This is 40 Orlingus. A Caves of Chaos Adventurer. This is going to take them down the archives. Is that an issue for us? So this can deal us 4, 5, 6 damage. So they have lethal if they want it. If we don't kill one of their guys. Okay. They also get to archives here. So we're hoping they don't find like a Chrome Mox. So yeah, at the beginning of combat, we then blast one of these. Then if they attack with the Bombardiers, we double block it. They can fling their Caves of Chaos Adventurer, but that won't be lethal. Okay. This is a pretty tight game. If we get the initiative, we hit them for 5. We didn't find the land for the Minsc and Boost. We don't get to cast any spells this turn. If we attack with everything, they have to block. If they let any 2 through, they die. The trap. So the Broadside Bombardiers has to trade here. If we attack with just these 2, they could block here, and then Caves of Chaos Adventurer doesn't have to block. They take 3, then they take 5, and they go 2. I think we have to attack here. If we'd have drawn a land this turn, this would have been easy. If we attack with everything, maybe the Throne of the Dead 3 doesn't kill us. Yeah, that's the obvious block there, isn't it? Okay, so they've worked out they have to block that guy. There's no point going to Arena. We're just going to trap here. So our opponent's Ancient Tomb is off. But they get Throne of the Dead 3 into a free card they get to cast off of the Caves of Chaos Adventurer. So I think not drawing a land... Well, if we drew the land, that was just game over. But... Okay, let's see what this does. Oh no, sorry, they don't go into Throne of the Dead 3 until they attack us, right? So they don't get to hit us with a haste guy. When they flip. City of Traitors, okay. So now our opponent is on 2 and we're on 3. They get the Throne of the Dead 3. Let's have a look what it reveals for them. None of these stop them from losing the game, right? So they have to have something in hand to go alongside it. So we have 2 threats. And they get 1 blocker. They didn't find something like a Solitude. Caves of Chaos Adventurer. This takes them back into the Undercity. But that just gets them a land. What are your cards in hand, opponent? 2 cards left. Anointed Peacekeeper. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. They're going to name Minsc and Boo, I imagine. Since that is lights out if we get to cast that. Okay. Lightning Bolt, Punishing Fire. Grove of the Burnwillows doesn't do it. Come on, deck. I believe in you. I believe in you, deck. Trophy time. Oh, that was, again, another tight match with really, really tight margins. But we managed to pull out the trophy. Obviously, a great result. Let's talk about this deck. So, let's get this on the screen properly, shall we? So, I think this deck strikes a good balance with some of the things I've been saying in the previous decks where I've been playing all sorts of JUND stuff. So we tried some breakout JUND in various configurations and it never really worked. And the reason why is when you're playing JUND, you don't have the sort of protection from Daze and Force of Will that can kind of keep your opponent at bay, whatever they're doing. You kind of, if you're trying to tempo them out, you need those tempo cards. So something like Breakout, which encourages you to play really tempo-oriented, isn't going to do a lot for you in the JUND deck. Whereas, a deck like this, we go bigger than those decks. So when you're playing a tempo deck, what are we doing? Okay, we're grinding. We've got our Fables. We've got our Klothys. You know, we've got Minsc and Boo. Some of the earlier JUND builds I played that did feel good were the ones with like 3 Fury and 2 Minsc and Boo. They were kind of like this, but a little bit different. We had 4 Bowmasters and different things. We had the Punishing Fire as well. So this is relatively close to that JUND build I played a while back that I think I 4-1'd with. I'll try and dig it out and put it in the description so you can go and take a look at it. I can't quite remember what it entailed right now. All right, I've just taken a look at that other JUND build using the magic of technology and editing here. And that build had more Minsc and Booze, but we weren't running this Green Suns package, we were running a Life from the Loam package instead. But we still had Orcish Bowmasters, Punishing Fire, that sort of jam. I think this build strikes a much nicer balance because that build I played struggled sometimes to find threats, whereas we're a lot more threat dense because of the Green Sun Zenith, the additional Furies, things like that. And I did like Klothys here a lot too. That felt like it was doing some good work for us. Yeah, all in all, you know, you can't argue with the trophy. You know, that usually means you're doing something right. Doesn't necessarily deserve a trophy. I don't know. We had to play really well to win quite a few of those rounds. It was challenging to get there. And a good turn of phrase is always work smarter rather than harder. And it felt like we were working quite hard, which is kind of going to be the case when you haven't got things like cantrips to smooth out some of your draws. You're going to have to eke the most out of all the cards you have. But when you can get some really good results. Like you see the green-white depths deck, which is quite difficult to play. But if you can master it, you can absolutely smash a bunch of the top decks with it. So this feels like it's definitely got legs, and I would not be ashamed to play this in a big proper tournament either. It feels like we're playing a bunch of good cards, and what's more important here is we have the ratios down quite nicely. What I will say is Murktide Regent. That is a card that we don't have the most amount of answers to. And we can just get bopped by it. We managed to just about avoid that today. But there were times where it was close and I was like, I hope our opponent doesn't have a Murktide. And we were saying that quite a lot. So it could have gone the other way a little bit if our opponents did access their things in the right sort of time. But what did impress me with this deck is that we're able to beat 2 control decks, which I thought would just have us stone cold dead. But we have annoying threats. So like Minsc and Boo is really annoying as a threat. Klothys is quite annoying as a threat. And Fable is, because once they come down, they kind of start doing other stuff. And every turn your opponent doesn't answer them, they're doing more stuff, and they can't just have a clean answer. Like, if they counterspell it, sure. But if they don't have a counterspell, then all of a sudden, Minsc and Boo is accruing advantage every turn. Fable the Mirror Breaker can start accruing advantage every turn, and it's basically like 2 cards plus some selection. And on the topic of selection, we've also got 2 Surveil lands alongside our Fable the Mirror Breaker, so we actually have a little bit more selection than JUND decks of past used to have. I think it all just comes together in quite a nice package. Is Punishing Fire exactly where you want to be right now? That is a question I am curious about. So the Punishing Fire means that we're running Groves, which means we don't get to run any kind of Blood Moon type effect. And from the lands matchup we played, that matchup was hard. And I think our opponent could have beaten us if they put their mind to it in a different angle of attack to the way they approached us. So there is a definite cost for running Punishing Fire here. We could quite easily squeeze in a swamp over one of the Groves and turn the other 2 into some, you know, Taigas or whatever, and cut some Punishing Fires and run something like Abrupt Decay, sorry, not Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophy, which would then give us an out to Murktides or something along those lines, and that would be quite useful too. But Punishing Fire does shine in these sort of grindy creature matchups. And sometimes the blue-black scam matchup now becomes, well, the Rescaminator and the blue-black. The regular blue-black scam is always going to be like a grindier matchup, but the Rescaminator can ebb and flow between just dumping a big creature in play or just, you know, trying to beat you with Grief and Dauthi Voidwalkers and Orcish Bowmasters. And if they're doing that, then Punishing Fire does look pretty great because you can just recur it and kill all those little threats. They can discard those cards out of your hand, but it doesn't mean anything because you just get them back. So maybe Punishing Fire is the right call in the meta right now, given the popularity of those sorts of decks. It's reasonable against Delver. Once they start flipping Channelers, then you haven't got as many things to kill with your Punishing Fire, but hopefully you're, you know, bapping them with your Endurances and things like that, so their graveyards are going to be small, and then you can kill off their creatures. Always kills off a Delver. So seems pretty reasonable. But you can't argue with the trophy at the end of the day. This was a hard-fought league, and I think we somewhat deserved the trophy at the end because we did have to work very hard to get it. We did get a few lucky draws, and I'm not going to deny that having the bolt off the top was a lucky draw in the final round, but we did have a whole nother game where we'd be on the play to do that one, which becomes a lot better for us. And we did have other draws that could be potentially useful there. So Punishing Fires was one of them. Was that the only other one? Well, we obviously had more Lightning Bolts. Trying to think what else we could have had to get out of that one. The Grist wouldn't have done it either. We didn't have the mana. Oh, a Fury. A Fury would have also done it, right? Because we had the Minsc and Boo to pitch. And we could have killed the 5/3 and then had enough to swing through. So, yeah, so we had like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We had 9 draws out of like 40 cards or whatever. So that's actually pretty fine. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this one. Hope that you are inspired to go and play some JUND and bring good old-fashioned JUND back to the world of Legacy. It's been a long time since people were sleeving up Bloodbraid Elves and all that jazz. This is a bit of a different beast, but it kind of feels a little bit like JUND of old because you still got that Punishing Fire thing. It's just your Lilianas are now like Fables and Grists and things. So, a thoroughly enjoyable one from me. If you're still watching, please remember to like and subscribe. It says about a fifth to a third of my watchers don't actually subscribe. So if you're one of them, why not hit the subscribe button? It doesn't cost you anything and it does really help my channel out. But most importantly, just keep playing Legacy, enjoying Legacy, watching Legacy, not just my content, but there's lots of other good content creators out there as well, each with their own different spin. But if you just want dedicated Legacy action every weekday, then you're in the right place. Okay, I'll stop rambling now, so thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.